One day, I was driving by a country church that had one of those letter boards where they put up signs that make you think about something, or sometimes they make you laugh, and I loved this one. Is faith your steering wheel or your spare tire? And I actually have kept that note for a while until this moment. We are on this whole life, year-long journey about talking about life as a journey and a road and a car and all that, and you're going to get sick of that analogy. But this one is really good. Is faith your steering wheel or your spare tire? And isn't faith a tricky word? How many of you feel like faith is a little bit tricky word? Yeah, it is for me too. I've had a complicated relationship with faith, especially since my early religious teaching was in fundamental Christianity, and I was asked to accept, on faith, many concepts and ideas that just really didn't make very much sense to me. If I asked a question, I was instructed to have faith. And quite frankly, the God that was described to me early on in my life wasn't a power that I really felt like I could have faith in or trust. And that God, was very judgy, and that God was just ready to send me to hell, if I didn't go by the rules or I didn't pray at the right time or whatever. And that God was so willful, and something, I was always told if there was something I wanted, then but I didn't get it, it wasn't God's will. That if it did happen, then it was God's will. So I had to wrap my brain around that with some pretty horrific things, like this was God's will. Like I had a hard time with that whole faith thing. So I can tell by the smiles and the nods, you relate to what I'm saying. So if I was asked, is faith my steering wheel or my spare tire, I might have replied that I didn't even know if faith was in the trunk under my tennis racket, right? Like I wasn't really sure if I even had that on board. But today, faith and I have a very different relationship, because the God that I understand now is a power that I can really believe in. I want to talk about that for a second. So when I walked into spirituality, I had no idea that I had the freedom to understand the higher power in my own unique way. I had no idea that I could choose the words to describe the God that I was having a relationship with. I had no idea that I even had an individual relationship with the energy of all life, which some people refer to as God. I had no idea I could give God my own personally chosen name. I've shared many times, I have a friend that calls God the big sweetie, and I always smile when she's talking about that. So that leads me to an understanding that spirituality is different than religion. So I want to talk about that too. Religion is about studying someone else's experience of God, like Muhammad or Buddha or Abraham or the Pope or whoever, and then trying to follow in their footsteps to try to have their kind of a relationship with the power that they had encountered on their path. That's religion, reading their books about their experience and trying to emulate doing what they did. So spirituality, on the other hand, is about deepening our own experience with the divine and practicing connecting to that as much as possible. So yeah, you can read all the books and you can say all the prayers and you can sing all the songs and try them all on for size, and then continue the thoughts and the practices that help you connect with that thing within you, that higher power and your relationship to it. And as you go along deepening your own experiences with this energy that people call God, you redefine it as you discover new attributes about it and how it relates to you. And with all that being said, I am inviting you to have faith that there is a power and that you're connected to it at all times. That's the faith I'm talking about today. The faith that there is a power and that you are connected to it. And one of the reasons that I ask this question is faith your steering wheel or your spare tire is because faith happens to be my white stone word. So those of you who started the year off with us, you know that we each intuited or discerned a word for our year, and mine was faith. And I always try to share about my white stone word and help you understand it because it helps you understand kind of the path that I'm on for this year. And faith was actually not supposed to be my word. So I thought I was going to write the word confidence on my stone, but somehow it mystically changed to faith as I picked up the pen and started to write. It was faith. So what's the difference between confidence and faith? Well, for me, when I was thinking about writing the word confidence, I was considering the reality that I am face to face with this desire I have to write this book on spirituality, and I needed confidence to actually do it, right? I needed confidence that I could put in the time necessary to accomplish it. I needed confidence to hear my own voice and think that I have something valuable to say. Yeah, confidence sounded like a really great white stone word. But confidence seems to leave out a very important component. God or spirit. To me, confidence is being able to rely on myself. Pick myself up and press on when I get insecure. But faith to me means believing in something powerful beyond me. And in my current relationship with faith, it means that Spirit's with me all the time in this creative process I'm going through. Faith means believing in my source of inspiration and my constant connection to that source. Yeah, I've got faith in my human self, but faith in my connection to my soul. That's what I mean by faith. So is faith going to be my steering wheel or my spare tire? That question's for me, but it's also for you. So as you go through your life, are you going to work on building up your self-confidence, or are you going to work on building up your faith? So confidence is what you need if you're going to stick in the human lane only, right? You're going to go through life in the human lane of the road. You're going to need confidence. You got to have confidence in your bodily strength and in your intellect and in your ability to beat other people at the game of life and in your personality and looks and stuff, whatever it takes to win. Confidence, that's what's needed in that spiritual lane. No matter what you're going through, you're going to need that confidence. Not a bad thing, and we're all trying to grow our confidence and our abilities. But if you're only relying on your confidence as you go through daily stuff, you're using faith as your spare tire, because you only turn to Spirit when there's a great big challenge or a big loss. Some people call it faith in the what's it called in the war when you're down in the ditch? The trenches. There you go. They find God in the trenches. I didn't have that word. But that's using faith as your spare tire. Times of the biggest heartbreak and the challenge. Otherwise, you're like, nah, Spirit, I got this little daily stuff. I got this. Well, we teach a lot. I teach a lot that God doesn't know hard or easy, big or little. And usually when I'm teaching that, I'm trying to get someone to understand if they've got a big problem to solve or they're calling something big, I'm trying to remind them that it may be big to us, but God doesn't know big or little. But today I want to turn that around. The things that you consider little daily stuff that you need to get done, those little things, God doesn't know little or big. The universe is just engaged in the little things as much as it is in the big things of life, if you invite it in by revealing your faith, by turning to it. So if you can do that, you can grow to let faith be your steering wheel as you let your soul run your life and steer your car. But here's the thing. You have to develop a way of communicating with the driver, right? How do you communicate with your soul or with the source as your connection to it, as your connection to life? How do you do that? So let's talk about prayer on the road of life. What is prayer? Now, in the Science of Mind, our philosophy has this really very distinct way of teaching prayer. Very different than any other prayer you probably ever heard or been shown. Prayer is the word you use when you're referring to talking with our soul or our highest power. And our philosophy teaches prayer like this, and you may hear this pattern when you're listening to prayers around here. First, we have 5 steps of prayer. The first is we acknowledge the presence of God in all things, the source of our individual and our collective power. We acknowledge that. Second, we remind ourselves that we are also souls connected to spirit, and we have faith in our connection. And we say that in our prayers. The third thing we do in our prayers is we basically talk about what we desire in the situation that we're praying about. We affirm what we desire. And then we claim our blessing in advance for the little things or the big things, and we say thank you. The 4th step is we say thank you. We have gratitude. We have a confirmation of our faith. We give thanks in advance. And 5th, we let it go. Amen. So it is. 5 easy steps. It's a great way to pray. It's a powerful way to pray. But it isn't the only way to pray. Any connection that you can acknowledge with the power of all life is just great. If you just say, hey, energy of all life, I realize you're there, you're a real power. The energy of life is my breath, my energy too. And I want this situation to work out for the best of everybody involved, and I'm willing to do my part. No, it's possible. Thank you. Good night. Basically that's the prayer. It doesn't really matter what you say. I teach it to children like this. God is good, so am I. Everything's okay. Thank you. Good night. That's really a simple way to pray. But it doesn't matter what words you say or write or think. It's a demonstration of faith as the steering wheel of your life, and you are communicating with it. And the more often you can connect to spirit with whatever is going on, the better. It doesn't have to be an emergency like a flat tire. It can literally be like any little thing. The next phone call you're going to make. The sale of a piece of property that you want to have go through. The healing of your foot. That's what I'm praying for right now. The car that you're going to buy. A decision the judge is going to make. Anything. And then after you've spoken your prayer, after you've talked about the thing, listen. Intuition is our connection to spirit. You hear me? Intuition is our connection to spirit. Ideas are our connection to spirit. If an idea takes you closer to love, it's a God idea. If an idea hurts no one and life is life affirming, it's a God idea. Faith as your steering wheel has you open to hearing from your soul. But guess what? In order to listen, you have to get quiet, right? You have to turn off your radio in your car if you're going to listen. But you also have to turn away from your screens, the big screens, the little screens, the tiny screens, the IMAX screens. Turn away from the screens. Have faith in your inner world where you're connected to life itself. Take a walk in nature and consider possibilities about the issue that you are concerned about. Think of possible solutions and the steps to make. What ideas come forward? Think about the best things going on in your life. And think of even more amazing possibilities that could be realized as a good thing for you. The more you do this, the more you can develop your faith in yourself and your connection to life itself. The more you do this, the more you will see life as a benevolent force moving you toward greater things. As Emily's saying, it's all for you. It's all for you. And until I found this teaching, I didn't have any real reason to develop faith. As I said a few weeks ago, I found CSL at a time when I didn't like the word faith. So what changed? I learned so much here, and I loved it. I loved learning that I had dominion and responsibility over the quality of my life. Once I stepped away from the idea that I was a victim, and I stepped away from the idea that there were two powers, one for good and one for evil, and they're all wielding this power all around me, and I'm just riding along, I began to see how everything that ever happened to me taught me the things I needed to learn to be stronger and more effective in my life. I was free to influence the situations around me. And the more positive and fearless I could be, the more happiness and high quality experiences I could have. I also loved learning that everyone is on their own path of evolution and growth and healing, and I didn't need to worry about them. They were doing just fine. In this teaching, if the minister said something that just didn't agree with me, I wasn't forced to believe anything unless it rang true for me personally. And I'll pass that on to this group. If what I'm saying doesn't resonate with you, set it aside and listen for what does. Listen for what does speak to you and your belief system. Things that help you define God in a way that's empowering to you. Otherwise, set it aside. We don't tell you what to think. We do not tell you what to think. We just encourage you to think and know what you think, and remember that what you choose to think creates the quality of your life. I love that. I love the freedom we all have to pick our own perspective on any subject and build our own theology. Another reason I love this faith walk is that it does look at all religions and philosophical teachings from a metaphysical perspective. That means we look for meaning beyond the literal of any text or story. I was reminded here that the Bible was only taken literally about 200 years ago. But before that, it was considered an allegorical explanation of expanding consciousness. So here, we may look at a passage from the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita Hindu writings or the Upanishads or Buddhist writings, or we're looking for the common message of oneness and love and universal truth that's contained in all of them. We are not studying and following someone else's idea of faith and God to worship them or whatever. We're studying them so that we can have our own individual experience of faith. So Ernest Holmes taught three big things, and usually at the beginning of the year, we introduce the three basic teachings of Ernest Holmes. So I'm going to summarize them really quickly today. First, he taught that God is all there is, that everything is made up of consciousness or energy, what he calls God, or other people call life force or energy or love or whatever. There's nothing outside of God, nothing outside of life itself. That's what that circle on the symbol means. It's all God. I can have faith in that. I can have faith in that and faith in my connection to that. And I don't need to fear everything if it's all God in form. The second thing Holmes taught is the golden rule, basically, the law of reciprocation. What you send out comes back to you. Treat others and life well, and you will be treated well as well. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you believe that the universe is a friendly place and you treat it as such, you'll find yourself in a friendly world treating you well too. That's what Ernest Holmes taught, and I can have faith in that as well. I can fully participate in the circulation of my life. I don't need to fear what's coming to me if what I'm sending out is good and love and joy. And the third big thing he taught is that we are creative beings living in a universe that responds to us as we create. He taught the law of attraction and that the power we have to use our personal energy of thought and emotions and actions and choices to change our lives for the better. He taught this creative process that is found in nature, in industry, in arts, and in everything that is ever created That's my creative process too. And that's the other part of this symbol. The seed, the soil, the plant. It's all the creative process. So through this philosophy, I've used this creative process enough to have faith in it as well. I don't need to fear being stuck in something because I can use that creative energy I have to make something different. I can have faith as my steering wheel all the time as I create my life. I treat others well and I recognize that everything is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Come see the movie. And as we have heard, the Christian Bible teaches us that faith without works is dead. Judaism teaches us that action is what counts, not just intention. What does that mean? I think it means that when we have faith, we live. We live a life of love and service and belonging and faith and all good things. And that's been my case personally too. I live my faith out loud. So faith is a very big foundation in our lives if we can use it as our steering wheel. Once I invited life itself or God itself into my experiences with complete abandonment, and once I poured my whole being living in this faith, life began to flow in ways I never imagined. And I must say, my life has improved in every way. And I know I'm not alone. This room is full of people who have changed their lives for the better in lots and lots of ways. Better jobs, better relationships, better health, better finances, better friendships, better mental and emotional well-being. Look around you. If you've been around here long enough, you've had positive impact from living in faith. So how can this faith impact you? In every way. How can your life improve? In every way. This philosophy really does help us look at our beliefs and our thoughts and shift them to a more positive direction. I don't know about you, but this teaching has helped me understand the privilege I have of giving birth to many experiences that came from my faith in the infinite. My faith has given me my three big words: freedom, fulfillment, and abundance. So how will having faith as your steering wheel change your life? I don't know. I don't know about you, but I'm going to continue proving that it does. I have faith, and it's my white stone word. So will you pray with me? What I stand in knowing is that faith is the power to connect with God itself. And I know going forward that each and every person hearing this prayer has a stronger connection to that faith, to that spirit within, and that life improves as we connect to that. I'm thankful for this opportunity to teach about faith, to live my faith out loud, and to know that all things improve when spirit is a part of it. So giving thanks, I just let it go and know that everyone is blessed by this new knowledge of how faith works. I let it go, and so it is.